Hello, Internet, and welcome back to Antiheroes Anonymous, or welcome for the first time if it's your first time joining us. I'm Ethan, and I'm the Dungeon Master for this 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons show! And I'm joined tonight, as always, by 4 lovely players. Nick, do you want to go ahead and take away some introductions?
Sure. I'm Nick. I play Thaddeus, the Convention Paladin.
I'm Kay. I play Harmony, who is the Tiefling Wild Magic Sorcerer.
I'm Melissa, and I play Mara, who is a human rogue pirate.
Oh,
Go for it.
I just noticed that Zach looks like he's wearing a hat because this is
No, I'm not done my introduction yet. I'll take my hat off after the introduction. Hi, everyone. Does that work?
But it looked like you picked up the back of the hat.
Hello there. I'm Zach, and I play Zant, who is a human fighter ranger.
In fact, this whole thing is in the shot. Let me just... Jeez, this is professional.
We can start over.
Been doing this for a long time.
No, I like this. Nailed it.
There we go. It's out of the shot.
We
So,
have the map out.
we'll run through some announcements and then a recap, and we'll get started. We premiere our episodes on YouTube every Monday at 7 p.m. Pacific time. Throughout the show, we use a custom variety of custom items as well as a custom wild magic table. Our music comes from BattleBards, TabletopAudio, and Incompetech. We're off to a good start, guys. I'm stumbling over words already. Our character portraits, which you can see in the top right corner on the stat cards, are drawn by an artist named Carrie Peach, who goes by @CarrieDraws on Twitter. You can check the video descriptions for links and info about everything I just mentioned and more. And you can always follow us on Twitter for information about what we're doing, when we're doing it. If you want to shoot us a question or something, I don't know. Follow us on Twitter. Other than that, we just hope you enjoy the show, share it with your friends if you do, etc. So a quick recap. It's been about 5 years since the party defeated the 8-headed serpent Orochi in her lair in the Elderhaven Reaches, and thus saved the world from a disastrous fate. However, 5 years after that, the night hag Mother Midnight is making her presence known once more, a night hag who has a vendetta against Harmony and also, to some extent, Hunter, since he was in that party at the time.
News to me.
Spoiler alert.
Harmony and Zant
I think Hunter's not
researched...
here anymore.
Yeah, he's gone. He's out again.
Phew.
Harmony and Zant researched information about Mother Midnight and the Sword of Asanahan, and the party, using that information and other stuff that Harmony got from her imp friend Moloch, put together a plan to reach Mother Midnight in her lair on Malbolg, the 6th layer of the 9 Hells. The first step of that plan involved going to the planar city of Sigil, where they arrived and paid for their interplanar journey. You okay? You okay, buddy? Yeah, he's good now. They paid for their interplanar journey by battling a juvenile kraken in a fishbowl. And then they basically went to Siaal's place, spent a night there, went and talked to some infernal passport specialists and moneylenders, and now they have a couple more errands to run in Sigil, and then they'll probably head home. So that's where we're at. To remind you guys, the last thing you saw before we ended last session was you had stepped out of the dark stone building that contained the infernal passport agency and moneylenders. And as you were descending the steps down into the streets of the clerk's ward of Sigil, you saw set up across the street a makeshift market stall stand, which was flanked by a pair of standing iron hooks, hooked upon which were these large, almost human-sized larvae with human faces frozen in these horrible screams upon them.
Not ostrich-sized.
Not ostrich-sized, human-sized.
Just
Some human-sized larvae.
I'm sorry.
Anyways, and there were a group of soldiers or warriors of some kind clad in heavy armor and like bucket helms. Are we sure he's okay? You okay, buddy?
He's, I think, freaked out by whatever's on the floor over there.
There's nothing weird on the floor over there.
Exactly.
Silly.
Sorry, continue.
Right, and so the proprietor of the stand, who you found out through their dialogue was named Polly, was being accosted by these 4 soldiers or warriors in heavy armor and like these bucket helms, and they were telling her that she couldn't sell here because the only people permitted to participate in the soul trade within the clerk's ward are the devils themselves, and that any other sale of souls here is illegal. And she was saying, no, it's fine, dearies, I've gotten the proper permissions. But they weren't having any of it, and so that's the scene that you came out of onto the bustling streets of Sigil. And I will get some music, and then you guys can decide what you want to do.
So, off to Siaal's shop?
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess so. Do we have any idea what those things are? Those like worm.
Yeah.
Do you want to make
Very
an Arcana check?
Sure. That's a 16.
16. And you had previously... Oops, that's way too loud. You had previously researched tags, or was it Harmony that researched tags?
It was me.
Yeah, I did the sword.
Okay. Well, as part of the sword, researching the sword, you did have to research some of the lower planes and the hells and things like that. So I'd say there's still a chance you could learn this information. One thing you would have stumbled upon that maybe you thought was inconsequential at the time was that souls travel to different planes when they die. And in what's called the lower planes, there's a certain plane where the souls that arrive there arrive in this larval form. And they're, while they're there, they're kind of like cannibalistic. They'll like kill each other. It's a violent place. But certain creatures, hags included, will set up shop around the places where these souls arrive in that plane and capture the souls for their own purposes.
Oh.
And the souls take that sort of larval form. So that's what you would remember.
Okay.
As you guys start to set off, the fox companion who Siaal had set you up with to lead you to their shop when you were done procuring infernal papers begins to trot off in a direction. But before you can follow it, you see that the altercation with the older woman and the armor-clad individuals is getting a little bit violent. The woman is continuing to insist, no, it's quite all right, I assure you, I have the proper paperwork in place. And the bucket-helmed people are going, no, this is absolutely not acceptable. You know the rules, Polly. We've been through this before. The only people who have permission to sell in this ward are the devils, and any other sales are unacceptable under the laws of Sigil. If you don't cease and desist immediately, we're going to have to take you to the governors. And she just keeps insisting, but then one of them tries to essentially raise up a sword hilt and is going to like smack her on the head.
So how do we get to Siaal's shop anyway?
Right, yeah, they smack her on the head, and she seems to go unconscious, and they drag her away. And that's that.
Man.
If you want to do something, say something and do it. You don't have to.
I want to go look at those soul things.
So basically, one of the bucket-helmed people ends up like dragging her away, but the other ones are still like taking down the shop. There.
Okay,
So there's
so
probably
I'm
3
gonna
of them left.
I'm gonna go chat up one of them. Say, what's going on?
This is none of your business, citizen. Move along.
Oh, come on. I'm a tourist. Come on. Let me see.
You can hear in his bucket helm his eyes rolling. And he says, okay, tourist. You're a prime then, I see, alright. Well, you may not know this, but the police of this city, the people who run this city, it's the Harmonium, and that's us. So we make the rules, and you need to scram.
Okay, so I really want to take one of those things, so
They're
I'm gonna...
human
They're like
size.
human size.
They're pretty big.
They're bigger than Harmony.
Yep.
Harmony, can you shrink one?
No. No, I can't. I didn't take that spell. I mean, technically I could, but I'd have to use my ninth level spell. It's a little early in the day for that.
It's a little early in the day.
Really gross thing.
Okay, so I'm just gonna have Harmony create a distraction. I'll pick his pockets and I'll be satisfied with that then. Can't do anything else.
Alright.
Alright, I will use Subtle Spell to cast Minor Illusion and make it sound like there's a fight starting around the corner.
Roll a... Are you proficient in deception? Or what's the skill? Why can't I think of it? Is it bluff or deception? Deception.
I am not proficient in deception.
Then just roll a charisma check.
Yeah, I couldn't.
How are you not proficient in deception?
Because I picked Intimidation and Persuasion when I made the character. I feel like I should be at this point.
Intimidation.
So did I actually. Neither is good line.
I know. Sorry, so what am I rolling?
Just straight charisma.
Well, you guessed it. Are you gonna tie the chaos set?
Yeah, I'm gonna tie the chaos set. Why the hell not? It's not like we're in a dangerous place or anything. 12?
12?
12?
You were looking for a 10. Because he rolled really low too.
Well, I'm glad I tied the chaos because my one was a 7.
So he hears that sound, and there's basically 3 of them left right now, of the original 4. He hears that sound and he kind of like gestures to the other 2, the one that's clearly in charge, and he says, "You there, you 2, go over there and check that out. See what's going on. Report back if anything looks dangerous, and we'll deal with it together." And 2 of them sort of hustle off, clanking as they go. But for that brief moment, he's distracted.
Are these
Do it!
human, or are they just...
They're in heavy armor, so it's kind of hard to tell,
Yeah.
but they are humanoid,
Okay.
so they're human shaped.
The tail. Practicing your southern accent for us. roll your roll.
Okay, what am I
Maybe like
rolling?
disadvantage.
My
Sleight of hand.
Sleight of hand, yep.
what is that? 9?
Are you
Doesn't
proficient?
matter.
26.
Yeah, in that brief second he's distracted, you slip your hand into the pocket, you pull it back out, and you emerge with a ring of keys.
Yes.
Oh,
That could be very useful.
we have a lot more to do all of a sudden.
Thanks, Harmony. Look what I got.
And then he, after the brief moment of distraction, turns
God.
back to you and says, "You, clueless, what are you still doing here? I thought I told you to scram.
I'm going, alright.
Get out of here before I rattle your bone box."
As if.
Oh my god.
And you get out of there.
Yeah.
Alright. You leave the scene behind as he's continuing to take down these poles covered in larvae.
Once we're far enough away, I'm going to say to Mari, you know I don't have any pull with the authorities here.
I'm used to being in and out of jail. Doesn't bother me.
I mean, this is before you joined us, but I'm pretty good at jailbreaking. Let's just make sure that that's out there.
Fair.
Right, Sam?
Sure.
I guess I can't be embarrassed here.
No complications for you.
So let's get a move on.
Follow the fox creature.
Follow the fox creature.
As you follow the fox creature away, your mother sort of like taps you on the shoulder and like motions for you to hang back from the group a little bit.
I do.
She says, "Listen, Harmony, I've got some stuff I want to think about, and I need a little bit of alone time to do it. So I'm gonna just check out the city on my own. You guys will be fine without me."
Yeah, but are you gonna be okay?
She shrugs and says, "Look, I'm fine. If I get into trouble, I'll get out okay. I
Why
always
don't
do."
you take Mullock with you?
She says, "What, the imp?"
Yeah, I mean, he knows how to just be quiet and he's invisible, so you won't even know he's there.
"I guess if you say so. Sure, I'll take him with me."
And if you run into trouble, you can send him to find me.
And she gives you a nod and says, "Sounds good. The one other thing I was thinking about. the imps back in that store mentioned that the currency of the 9 hells, like, golden things won't work. They said that devils want souls. And it got me thinking, maybe it does make sense to procure some? I mean, it just because they want souls doesn't mean that we have to give them ours, right?
That's true. Yeah.
I don't know. It was an expensive exchange rate, but it might be worth it.
Yeah, I agree.
And she kind of shrugs and says, that's my 2 cents anyways. I don't know how the rest of the group will feel about
Your
it.
2 souls.
My 2 soul coins, yeah. She, like, isn't sure what to make of the joke. She just kind of, like, cracks a half smile and then, like, realizes she's smiling and closes it instantly.
Share a laugh with Mother.
And she just goes, right, anyways.
Yeah, I'll bring it up to the group and see what they think.
Alright. I'll find you guys when I'm done exploring and doing my thinking.
Well, we'll either be at Sial's shop or back at Sial's home, so you can probably meet us there later if you want.
She just kind of shrugs and then, like, turns on her heels and walks away.
Okay, have fun. I rejoin the group.
Okay.
And at this point, the fox has led you a good portion of the way to Sial's shop. Like I said, Sial's shop's in the market ward, and the clerk's ward is right next to it, and they're both 2 of the smallest wards of the city. And in fact, the architecture and things like that are very similar. There's almost like no distinction that you've crossed a ward line in the city.
What other shops are we passing by in the market ward and the clerk's ward?
All manner.
Like anything we wanted type of
Basically
thing?
anything you wanted. Especially as you get into the, like in the clerk's ward, it's mostly services, so you see things like
Right.
lawyers, clerks, obviously, money lenders, things like that. But as you get into the market ward, you start to see more of like market stalls and things popping up, and they are selling everything. Like you pass one shop that just has like wares from the elemental plane of fire, and it's just like there's a jar of like perpetual fire next to like molten lava rock that is somehow not melting the stand that it's set on, and, you know, like stuff like that. And then you go like half a block down, and there's someone selling I mean, like just literally anything and everything from all of the planes of the universe. So you find like someone selling fruits from the upper planes that are supposedly absolutely delicious and stuff like that. And they
Love
begin.
this place.
The more you get into the market ward, there's basically people shouting their wares at you as well, like trying to lure you in. You can see there's working on some.
Everything shiny.
Oh, there's plenty of shiny. Like what specifically?
Just anything that's shiny, I want to look at.
You really have to get narrow it down.
Yeah, like there's jewelers, there's small magic item stands, there's
Yes.
like fine weaponry.
Yes. But we're gonna go to Sial shop, so I'm not stopping, but I'm like taking mental note of all the shops that have
There's literally anything you
jewelry,
could imagine.
magic items.
Basically, you're like on Zan's shoulders, like normal, because you just want to look at her and not pay attention, because you're like slowing down, like, all right, Harmony. I know the drill.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
When I notice that Valiance isn't with us anymore, I'm gonna talk to you about it. See if you want me to tail her surreptitiously.
Don't you want to see the shop though? I mean,
How important is it that you want?
The shop isn't
To
that
know what
important. Sorry, am I in this conversation?
you can be if you want to be. Yeah.
The shop's not important, but I would like you with us when we speak to the navigator.
Okay.
Are we gonna do that next?
I assume so.
Whatever's on the agenda.
Okay. Well, you still have that crystal ball of scrying, right?
Okay. Yeah.
So if we don't, we can always take a peek at her later. If we
I think
have
I
to.
need to reattune to it, so I'll do that when I have a chance.
Then you could use that to. Never mind. We'll talk about that later.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's not much longer before the fox stops you in front of what is actually, by all outward appearances, a rather modest market tent. And let me find my information on Siaal.
Of course, it's a tent. Why am I having visions of red from Animal Crossing? It's like tent with like
Circus.
his
stripes.
little like green tent, and you go in and there's like all the like counterfeit paintings and stuff.
Yeah, so
There
it's
are
this.
foxes.
Yeah, I know, right? That's I'm totally getting that vibe.
I just realized I think I have marketplace music.
Oh boy.
I don't know where it is. Oh, there we go. Mystery Bazaar. Yeah, it's a small but sort of elegantly appointed market pavilion, and the color scheme for it is, what color was Siaal today? Orange?
Aqua?
Aqua.
Or was that yesterday?
Well, that was yesterday.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was orange when we woke up.
I think, so the tent is basically all orange, and then
pixie cut hair.
it is lined with like red cords and things like that. And on the very top of the pavilion, sort of hanging down over the entranceway, there's a sign that just says, in big letters, Siaal's apostrophe, Siaal apostrophe S. And there seem to be several people just entering and leaving. And yeah, that's where the fox itself goes in.
Okay, and we go.
Yep, me too.
When you enter the inside, it is nothing like the outside. It is a massive space. In fact, it is basically a 3-story location. So you step in and you're in an entranceway that has stairways going up the side to a second floor, and from that second floor you can see there's another set of stairways that go up the side to a third floor. So it's almost like this tiered thing where the bottom floor is the biggest, and then the second floor is sort of in the middle, and then the third floor is kind of small, but it just opens up into this massive space. And it is all lavishly appointed in oranges and reds for the day. And you can see that there are tables and counters and shelves that are just decked out with all manner of items and weapons and curious objects. And there are various patrons milling about of all sorts of different planar races that you've seen at this point. And they are all communicating with these fox-like creatures that are assisting them in, picking out items and things like that. So one of them will push a ladder and then run up the ladder and get something off of the top shelf and stuff, and then run back down and deliver it for examination. And that is the scene you walk in on. And right in the entranceway, Siaal is standing there. Clearly, they greet all of the guests that enter, and Siaal sees you, and the face brightens up, and they just say, "Ah, you made it. So I take it things went well at your previous engagement?"
More or less.
We got information, at least.
We got an estimate.
Yeah,
Well,
but
that's something.
yeah.
And souvenirs.
Souvenirs.
Well, this is my shop. Welcome.
It's beautiful.
This is the flagship branch of Siaal's.
Are there windows on the first floor?
Yeah, there actually are windows on all of the floors, letting in the natural light, and you can see out onto the market district as if you were on the ground floor, at the same level, and then at the second floor it would be like you're looking down a little bit.
It's incredible.
Well, what do you think?
Very impressive.
It's overwhelming.
That's what I go for.
Fantastic.
Do you have anything? I
grab their hands.
Yep. She's they're just like,
You've been
yes.
keeping me waiting for nearly 5 years.
The dragon scales.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, those I have in the back room because I'm not offering them to any customers but you until you've had your right to refuse. Come with me. We'll go up to the third floor and into the back room, and then we will take a look at them. And as they sort of walk up the stairway, they motion for you to come with.
I'm right on their heels.
They had something for me too, right?
The only thing I had in my notes that they were working on was the scales. They were working on plate mail for you, but you got
I already got that. Okay.
Yeah, you did get that.
that.
That's right, because that was right before he left.
As you're going up the stairs, Siaal says, "Normally I don't. I just greet the people who come into my shop, and then I let my foxes do all of the work when it comes to sales. But you are a special case, so I'll assist you myself." And you're taken to a back room that has a bunch of things up on shelves in boxes, and most of them are unlabeled. But Siaal goes straight to one of them, pulls it down, and inside the box there is linens and things like that that are clearly covering the item, and they pull out the linens and lay them down on a table, and they're of course orange. And spilling out over the orange linens are 20 bronze, but with a tinge of black shadowy essence to them, scales that you recall giving to Siaal. And there just seem to be there's nothing, at outward glance, there's nothing different about them from the moment you handed them to Siaal.
You've had 5 years and you didn't do anything with them?
Well, I did quite a bit with them, actually. I thought about it. I thought about it for a long time. The sort of things that you already carry on you and what might be useful. And what I came up with was this. And let me pull up the item description so that I can remember what I came up with. I need to go to Homebrew Creations. There we go.
Anti-wild magic charm.
That
Why
would
would
take
you-
all the fun out of it.
Yeah, why would you want that?
So for one.
Siaal picks one up and says, while holding one of these, you can focus onto it and activate the magical power that I've imbued it with, which enhances the innate properties of the scales themselves and confers a benefit to you. And there are a couple options you can choose. You can choose to draw the shadow energy out from the scale and around yourself. Out of game, I will tell you, taking that option gives you proficiency in the stealth skill for 1 hour, or double proficiency if you already have it. Or you can draw out the protective energy from the scale, which will allow you to gain certain resistance to the effects of magical effects that imbue lightning or powerful necrotic damage, things like that. Or finally, you can hold a scale and withdraw the confidence of the original beast that it was taken from, and fear will no longer have any effect on you. And these 3 effects are yours to choose when you use one of these scales. Now, using the magic does, it will consume all of the magic within the scale, and it will then
So it's a
effectively
one-use
become
kind
useless.
of thing. I see.
Yes, but there are 20 of them.
I see. That's pretty cool.
And now I need to see what these would cost.
Is it only for you to use, or can anyone use them?
Sounds like it's a consumable. Like it's
Yeah, any
used.
of us can use it.
Yeah.
For any normal customer, I would charge 200 gold per scale. For you, oh wait, I need to have that because it's consumable. I would charge 100 gold per scale, but for the group of you, I will charge only 50. Since I'm only charging you for the labors that I put into crafting them, and not charging for any sort of material costs, since those were provided.
And what about the we're your favorite customers and you love us discount?
Well, that's already part of the whole package.
50 per scale, huh? What do you think?
It's worth it.
Why don't we get our inventory first, and see what we want in general, and then we can price everything out.
Well, we have those 77 gold pieces that we got from
The
whatever
Pretty Beards.
Captain Prettybeard's place. The laughing. What was it called?
If you're mentioning that out loud, Siaal says, "Oh, actually, that reminds me. I was
Right.
going to give you some of your winnings from that night, wasn't I?"
Yeah, that's what
Yes.
you said.
Let me see how much I had, Siaal, ready to give you.
Oh yeah, and I have. Where'd I write it?
Right. Well,
The
I
gold
made
that we
a little bit of
got
money
from the
that
flood.
night.
Between us,
So
it was 77.
I know, but I thought I had more.
I think your portion of the winnings would come to about 250 gold pieces, if you'd like that.
So there's 250, and we can add another 50 from what we picked up for 300.
So that's 6 of them.
That's 6 of them. If we get 8, then we both have 2 each.
I think Thaddeus looks kind of skeptical and says, I don't know, Harmony. Most of this stuff we can do on our own.
If I'm honest, I think the most standout property of the scales is the shadow magic that you can imbue yourself with.
Yeah, I mean, face
For
it,
stealth.
Daddy, you're not very stealthy.
I have cast without trace though.
That's what I'm saying. He has that. When you're near me, you don't fear anything anyway. And I've got a spell that can cover, dark magic, shadow magic. Give us resistance to that already. You remember the one I used it against the vampire.
But what if we're alone?
Well, why don't we? I mean, just leave them on the table for now, and let's take a look around, and
Okay.
maybe we'll come back and circle back and
Let's buy
pick some up.
Let's buy one each. Or two each
Let's
for
wait.
us. With our gold.
With our
You can
gold.
spend your money
Because-
however you want, I guess.
They put a lot of work in us, and they're offering you a tremendous deal.
That's true.
And we can always revisit the shop if we like them.
How about... No, never mind. I think that's a
Well,
good
why don't we
idea,
see
but
what
let's
else
see
they
what
have.
else they have
Yeah.
too. Because we can always say, and throw in.
Make a deal. Okay.
So Siaal leads you back out into the front end of the shop and says, sort of gestures to it all and says, well, what are you looking for? I can assist you in finding pretty much anything you're looking for.
So, Ethan,
Mhm.
I just downloaded from DM Guild, what is this called? Loot the Room, an expanded trinket table. I would like to buy a trinket that I have no idea what it's going to be because it's one of the 100 from this new list.
Sure, why not?
Oh, geez.
I will price that as a common item, which will cost you 20 gold pieces.
Alright, I'll pay that.
So basically, Siaal says, all right, Thaddeus, you're looking
From
for
his gold.
minor trinkets. That can be arranged. And Siaal calls over a fox creature to take you to the lower section of the shop. What about the rest of you? What are you looking for?
Well, I'm looking to buy and sell, potentially. Or potentially negotiate and trade.
That is an option. We can certainly talk about that.
But I do have some items in mind that I want.
What did you end up? Thaddeus goes down to the lower section with
Take
the,
gamble.
with the fox, and you're taken to basically a back section of the room
Sloshing.
that looks like it's like for, I don't know, like adventurer's first magic item, or like like a gift a noble might give to a child or something like that. And what do you find amidst all of these trinkets?
Nice.
Yeah, I know. But the thing that I rolled is weird, and I'm not sure how to buy it. I rolled a skull with a glass side that slowly rolls in its socket.
Sounds cool to me. Birthday.
You can roll again if you want.
tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm
See what
gonna-
else you
I'm gonna
find.
roll it, see what else. Yes, I get you. That's kind of interesting. That's kind of fun. A miniature stone keep that emits smoke from its chimney.
Oh, does it look like your home or like a
That would be super creepy if it did,
Camelot
honestly.
estate? Like not exactly, but the same kind of layout.
Yeah, maybe maybe it's like a Lendal style architecture
Yeah.
or something like that.
Keep the home fires burning.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna buy this. This little miniature stone keep.
Okay.
Bastard.
For somebody. Maybe Don might like it.
Done.
Oh.
You could charm it to make it dawn things come out of it at night for him.
You are not charming this.
Hey, I didn't even offer.
Also, she's not there. I
Yeah,
don't
that's
think,
true.
so.
Yeah.
So its chimney emits smoke.
Yeah, a miniature stone keep that emits smoke from its chimney.
That's so cute.
Cool.
What do
Great. It is noted. So Siaal's attention is currently on Hunter. What was it you said you were looking for?
I don't know who Hunter is,
Who's
but
Hunter?
Sorry, Zant.
I
Siaal probably
Look
calls
on
you
you.
Hunter and then says, "Sorry, I'm not used to that." Zant.
I understand. So I am looking for magic shields, arrowheads, accessories, and I wrote down travel gear, and that was in thought of us traveling to the Nine Hells before we did research. And so now I think Zant would have a much better idea, and Harmony would have a much better idea of what sort of things they would encounter that they might need to prepare for.
Well, the first hell, certainly, you would know is essentially just a constant battlefield.
Of pizza.
of pizza. In a eternal war known as the Blood War, which Thaddeus educated you on.
Yeah, we're gonna have stuff to do there.
So you can probably expect to encounter like legions of organized armies.
But if we go in with protection or of the Archdevil, then I guess it's more for like assuming that we do go in with papers or proper paperwork, then it would just be more about like the environment, like the.
Okay, so you're going to be looking for. For the first hell, you're going to want resistant to heat and things like that.
Sure.
The fifth hell, you're going to want resistance to cold, and you don't know a ton about the sixth at this point.
Okay.
It was the one that was all uphill on the brochure, but the imp did mention that brochure is a bit out of date as well.
They're all out of date. But I guess I was more hinging on our actual research rather than.
The brochure.
Rather than the brochure.
I mean, the brochures maybe that gave me a little bit of guidance, but.
Yeah, I mean, in that case, you really don't know much about the sixth layer.
But
at least for the first and.
What do I know about it? Based on the information that I got over the 5 years.
Roll just a persuasion check retroactively for how much you might have gotten out of Moloch.
Ooh, that's pretty damn good.
Yeah.
That's
really good.
wait, 29.
Do you want this information secretly, or do you mind if I say it?
About the kind
Like
of
the
conditions and environment? Say it out loud. That's fine.
Okay. You would have heard a story from Moloch. A story that sort of defines the terrain of the sixth layer of the Nine Hells, which is that at one point its original form was this constant uphill, where like no matter which way you're traveling uphill, and there are massive boulders, some the size of like small cities that come tumbling down the slope. And the devils of this layer delighted in like hanging cages on the slope and like having the creature in the cage be tortured by like constantly being buffeted by these boulders. And the devils built these massive citadels that have withstood thousands of years of these boulders rolling down the hill and like colliding into them. However, the hells are mutable, and they can change on a dime into a incredibly different landscape based on who's ruling it and things like that. And after leadership of the Nine Hells transitioned to Malagard, the Hag Countess, the layer began to sort of flatten and take on more of a swampy aspect to it. But Malagard's term was short-lived, and the archdevil that took the throne of control for that layer from Malagard was Asmodeus' daughter, Glacia. And the story that Moloch tells you, is that one day, seemingly without any provocation or apparent reason for it, Asmodeus himself showed up on the sixth layer of the Nine Hells. He ascended from his fortress in the ninth layer to the sixth layer, and basically pointed at Malagard, snapped his fingers, and she swole to an incredible size, such that she basically eclipsed the entire landscape of the sixth layer of the Nine Hells, and then exploded.
Whoa.
And now the sixth layer of the Nine Hells is covered completely in the innards of the Hag Countess.
Oh my god, that's disgusting.
And that is the story you would have received from Moloch.
Yeah. So
About
I
the terrain of the
relay
sixth
that
layer.
story to you.
And I'm disgusted. But I also have no idea how to process that into travel equipment.
Well, I mean, I don't think that
Maybe it's
there's
really
any
stinky.
extreme temperatures, right? Except maybe the fifth layer was
Yeah,
it? That's
ice.
cold.
Nice
It's
like ice.
cold. The first one is probably hot.
So, like, maybe a nice warm coat for each of us?
Yeah. So,
I do have a pair of boots in stock that provide some defenses against the bitter colds.
I'm interested.
You're interested
How
in the
about-
boots?
Yeah, how about traction-wise, too?
Oh, these boots are excellent in terms of traction.
They're made for
Let me
walking.
look them up. They are made for
What
walking.
about your ballet slippers?
They don't seem like they'd be very warm.
That's true. Maybe you can wear them under your boots.
Oh my gosh.
What the pair of boots that Siaal has in stock do is give you resistance to cold damage, and you ignore any difficult terrain created by ice or snow, so that's the excellent traction.
That's cool.
You can tolerate temperatures as low as minus 50 degrees Fahrenheit without any additional protection. And if you wear heavy clothes, you can tolerate temperatures as low as minus 100.
Whoa. How many of those does she have in stock? Just the one?
What if we share the pair?
Siaal has just
wear
the
one
one
of
of
those.
those,
Yeah.
Just the one pair.
One
and they are
one
running
boot.
a high 600 gold pieces.
600 gold for those boots.
Oh man, can we
Yeah, let me write it down.
come to a deal?
We could potentially negotiate that. What did you have in mind? What would you be willing to pay for boots like these?
Well, we could do like we did before. I could do you a favor.
Now that's an interesting prospect.
Do those require attunement?
The boots,
Favors?
Yeah. Favors?
the favors do require attunement.
Thinking that.
The boots do, in fact, require
Okay.
attunement.
So you'd have to swap out something like
Yes.
in the morning for him.
That's important.
I tell you what, I might have something in mind since you're going to the Hells anyways, and I don't particularly want to go. There's a fellow salesperson who takes up residence on the first layer. His name is Mahadi. If you take a platinum coin, turn it in your hands 3 times, and toss it into the river Styx, he and his wandering emporium will be drawn to you. I'm not sure at this exact moment what I might want you to do, but if you allow me some time to think about it while you're preparing for your trip, I might have something.
Okay, say again. Platinum coin.
Take a platinum coin, turn it in your hand 3 times, and toss it into the river Styx.
And he'll appear. Interesting.
Mahatma.
Mahadi.
Mahadi. Mahadi.
Cool.
I think.
Okay.
Okay.
What do you have along the lines of making someone a little bit
Taller.
harder to hit?
Harder to hit. Let's see what I have in stock.
Harder to land an attack on, or something that could be more durable to attacks? I mean, I've got these bracers, but like, I'm still pretty squishy.
Wonder Woman.
I have
Not
a...
as a massive giant crab.
That's true.
Huge giant
A
crab.
huge giant crab.
Not magical though.
Not
I have a variety of armors that would increase defenses, but you don't strike me
I'm
as the
not
type
really
of
an
person who
armor
wears
kind of
armor.
girl.
Well, I
Maybe
do
a
have a
nice-
ring or two.
A nice ring or a tiara.
I do have some rings, though I could potentially transfer the enchantment to a tiara if that would be preferred.
Ring's fine.
So I have one, which would, out of game, give you a +1 bonus,
My
which would
braces are
run
better than
for...
that, though. My braces are +2, aren't they?
And this one's going to be kind of expensive. Yeah, very expensive. 5,000 is what that one would go
Oof.
For the
For a
what is it?
+1?
Yep.
Jesus Christ.
for. But for a +2, let's see. A whopping 10,000. Very expensive.
The braces are pretty good, I guess.
Yeah.
I wonder how much they'd sell for if you didn't want them.
I do
Well,
have something that might be of a little bit more interest to you in particular, I think, Harmony.
Oh, yeah?
Oops, I just typed in the wrong thing into here in a silly way.
I failed my investigation.
Siaal brings you to a section of the store that is devoted to footwear, and pulls down from the shelf a set of boots that has these beautiful white angelic wings on them at the heel, and presents a pair of winged boots to you.
Huh.
These boots, I mean, as you probably guessed, would confer to you the ability to fly, almost to your heart's content.
Almost?
Yes, well, I mean, there are limits to them, but if you expect to fly for more than a couple of hours per day, then, I don't know, that's, you might need to reevaluate your
Heart's content.
your mode of transportation, since you're unlikely to burn as many calories that way.
At will.
Flying is really fun, Harmony.
I know. I'm tempted. And as you can see, I'm kind of in need of a pair of shoes if we're going to be walking around in the snow.
The boots are going for a measly 200 gold.
Whoa.
Wow.
That sounds good.
I mean,
Yes, these
yeah.
are currently on sale. I actually had these custom made for a noble in the city, but then they reneged on their agreement. So,
Yeah, I want them. You know me so well.
I thought as much. The other thing Hunter was looking for was a shield.
So I'm looking for shields,
Snap.
accessories. Yeah, I don't know who Hunter is. Arrowheads.
Sorry, jeez. I'm trying. This is tough.
I have enough in my personal funds to pay for the boots myself. Then we can save the group funds for the...
I mean, mine
Papers.
are lumped together, so I'm kind of just trying to not spend it all.
Please
I
don't.
didn't
Siaal has
separate my own. To the
A
group
shield in
funds.
stock
Uh-huh.
that would grant you a +2 bonus to AC against ranged attacks, in addition to your normal armor class. And whenever attacker makes a ranged attack against you, whenever an attacker makes a ranged attack against someone within 5 feet of you, so if you're like standing
Yep.
next to Harmony or whatever, you can use your reaction to become the target instead.
Ooh, wow.
That's pretty cool. Okay, so
It is an arrow catching shield.
okay.
That's interesting.
I also want to
Just like my gloves.
make a note that I'm out of attunement slots, so anything without attunement is ideal if that's possible.
But yeah, the boots probably require attunement, huh?
Yeah.
Yep, and so does the shield.
Okay. How much is the shield?
The shield is going for... This one's probably expensive. Yikes. Yikes.
Uh-oh.
6,000.
It's a lot. Okay.
The other thing I have, which is a little bit less expensive, are things that are one-time use items. So for example, I have a stock of potions, I have a stock of spell scrolls.
You probably want to stock
probably
up
do
on
want some.
healing potions. Although I can brew them myself, but it would take a lot of time.
Yeah, that's true. Or things that you can't brew. I mean, both,
True.
really. Maybe both would be
Well,
good.
I mean, I
Yeah.
can't brew the really, really good healing potions, so maybe we buy a couple of the really good ones, and then I can make some of the
Okay.
less potent ones later.
What were you?
How good are you talking? Siaal has everything from supreme healing down to the regular healing potion.
I mean, like superior level, anything like higher than greater but less than supreme.
We have one supreme healing potion.
You never used that one?
We didn't need to.
Good. So we have one supreme,
Yeah.
but maybe 1 or 2 superiors.
Health potions or healing potions?
Healing potions. If I remember, it's potion of healing and then greater and then superior and then supreme. There's nothing
sounds
between
right.
greater and superior.
That is correct.
Okay.
And a potion of superior is rare, so that means I need to roll this price. We're trying out Xanathar's Guide's prices tonight, and I'm rolling, unfortunately, very high.
You always roll, unfortunately, very high.
This isn't too bad. One of these will run you 1,500 gold.
And that's for which one?
For the superiors.
Superior,
And
yeah.
that's-
And Siaal has 3 of those in stock.
1,500 for superior.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Interesting. I mean, that is technically less expensive. So, but equipment-wise, well, what about? The other thing I want is arrowheads, enchanted arrowheads.
I do have several of those that will grant extra accuracy and impact when they hit.
Do they essentially do magic damage at that point?
They would do magic damage, and you'd get +1, +2, or +3 to hit, depending on the rarity.
What are the prices?
He does.
Let's see.
So bad.
What am I doing?
No, we're laughing at Zant.
Yeah,
Oh, I
because
see.
I'm like,
hand him a napkin.
yeah,
He's
it's like
drooling
all over
these
the place, salivating. Someone rang the bell.
I can't believe it's been 5 years and you haven't learned to control that a little bit.
Yeah, it's true.
As Sial's taking us around the shop showing us things, I'm just carrying the boots of the winged boots like a little kid carrying their teddy bear in a store. Like, I want this one, buy this one.
You have
for
like
me.
the boots and a fox. This is the best place ever.
And the wings kind of
So +1 is uncommon, so that is
like a pet. Is it alive? Pet?
each +1 arrow goes for 150 gold.
See. Okay.
And Siaal has 8 of those in stock. A +2 one would go for. That's not too bad. 3,000 per.
3,000 per
Yep.
arrowhead?
And Siaal actually has 40 of those in stock. Jeez.
Can she have 40 of the +1s instead?
Actually, I think I rolled times 10, so it would be 80 instead of 8.
Oh,
80 in stock
Okay.
instead of 8.
Mm-hmm.
I see.
And then the +3 ones are probably going to be very expensive.
We don't have to ask about those. It's fine.
5,000.
How much? Well, how many of the +2 are? I'm not going to buy them. I just wanted to write it down.
I've already
40 of
forgotten.
them. Well, I'm looking at the +1s. I might get some of those. Yeah, I guess for like non-attunement.
The other thing
Yeah,
I might be able to tempt you with,
sure.
Zant. And Siaal kind of eyes your belt. I have a very expensive item I've been saving for a very special occasion,
Yeah.
which could replace that belt you're wearing there. And Siaal brings. You have to go into the back room for this. This isn't out
in
on
the
the
back
shelf.
room for this.
Siaal
Is
pulls
it?
down from a shelf a similar belt, but this one, instead of like the stone giant
The frost giant
appearances,
one?
has storm giant.
The storm giant one?
Oh,
Isn't that like
shit.
29?
Yes,
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
Wow, I need this too.
but this will be extremely expensive. Or
Maybe
you
we
will
can
owe
work
Siaal
something
quite a
out.
bit.
How much is it?
Let's find out.
Friends and family.
Oh jeez,
Oh no.
I need a calculator.
Oh no.
It was close to max.
No. Can we roll disadvantage on that one?
You don't have enough money for this. 125,000, or could work out some sort of deal. Let's see.
We're gonna have to if I want that. There's absolutely no
Something
way.
that you want to get rid of that came out.
Well, I would trade in my other belt, but that's like chump change to this thing.
It's
Is that
what,
alright if you
stone
want it?
giant?
Would you want the belt of giant strength?
That'd actually be really good.
23 strength is what it sets it at.
Yeah, my strength isn't at max.
I mean, it's probably better
Is
than
that your modifier for attacks
selling
and
it.
stuff is strength?
Yeah, I think it'd be great. That'd be really good. How many do you have? A 2-minute slot?
So
this thing?
stone giant
Or you throw it in
is
your-
I'd have to get rid of my scarf, but I don't really use the scarf that much. Sorry, Harmony.
stone giant.
It's okay. Just give
The
it
stone
back.
giant belt is actually very rare, so that would reduce the price by about 10,000 gold pieces.
So 90 something instead of
No, it would be 115,000.
That's not a lot.
But I think it's worth giving it to.
But then you
Does
could
that-
perhaps
yeah, if you
make a
want.
deal with Siaal or something.
Yeah. So then the next part of the conversation is, well, that's great, and I really want that, but we don't have enough money, so maybe we can work something out.
That's the problem with making these items for commission when the buyer sees it and then realizes the price and then backs out. I'm left with something I can't sell. Let's see.
Well, I've acquired many curious things along our travels, and also
Yeah, what else would you be willing to offer? Because we can
You
reduce
sell
this
these
price.
scarves
If you open up the bag of
buy
holding
something.
to shoot
That
them.
won't hurt
And
my
the-
feelings.
What is that? You get so
the animated books that I used on your ship. Yeah, that was really awesome. I'm glad I saved it just for that occasion.
I have 3 gems
So-
for 25 gold.
I've got. Oh no, wait.
Hey, but you know what? Since I provided Siaal the scales, if we don't want to buy any
I
of
have
them,
more scales too.
we could sell those and we can maybe
Yeah.
sell the scales and get money for those
Maybe.
too if we don't buy them.
I could detract some of that, since I would consider it as you providing me items for me to create things to sell to other people.
I was about to say, I have listed on my sheet some diamonds. I don't know why I have those. And then it's like, oh no, I have those for a very important reason.
Very important
Yeah,
reason.
you need to keep those.
Never mind. Well, how much are supreme healing potions?
Oh, we already have one of those.
I know, but
Supreme
1500,
healing
you said
potion.
that was for
that was superior, so
Oh.
supreme is even more expensive.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
I don't think you even quoted this one.
I haven't quoted you on Supreme yet. Siaal is selling those for 20,000.
We have one. Could we sell that?
No, we need that.
We might.
Do we need it as much as we need a new belt?
That's the other question. I don't know, actually. This is really good. 29 strength is so much. It's a plus 9 modifier.
Yep.
That's incredible. Let's see.
It is legendary, in
Yeah,
fact.
it's really good.
So,
Well, yeah.
if we were to sell all of those scales, say it's like what, 50
It's still not
gold
going to be
per
enough.
per scale?
That was the reduced price?
Because that was the reduced price to buy them, but their
So it
full
would
price
be
100.
100.
So we could sell them for
Knock
50
off
gold
2,000 on that.
for just
I mean,
those 20.
this is
And you
still
said you
just-
have more.
Yeah, I have 20 dragon scales. But there's like,
So
it's
that's
like
4,000.
just teeny tiny fractions that were, which is good, it's adding up. But I feel like this is going to come down to, we need to strike a deal. Like actually something that's,
Yeah.
we're not going to have enough, even on our combined inventories.
We need money
For
to
this
pay
one
for
item,
the,
right?
Yeah, we need to pay for the papers to get
Yeah.
into.
Yeah.
The
How-
hells.
Which hells did you say you're going to again?
1,
1,
5, and 6.
5 and 6.
1/3 of the hells.
What could Siaal want on those layers?
Having better code money gives us better success for any task that you have.
This is true.
Siaal says, allow me to think about what I might want, because there are certainly some things that I could want from those locations which are far too dangerous for me to access.
Sure.
And depending on the severity of what is required to undertake those tasks, I would potentially be able to reduce the price by perhaps half.
That's actually, at that point, almost reasonable. Reasonable as far as what we can budget and actually still get what we need, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, yeah, ponder away. At this point, we can't buy it. It's just not going to happen. The other thing I have that Siaal might be interested in is a spell book that's in Illithid language.
Oh, that is interesting.
Yeah. I've picked up a lot of curious things. We have that. I have a +2
That was from
spear.
Core, right?
Huh?
That was from Core, I'd assume.
I didn't write the origin of it, but yeah, it was either from Core or it was when we went below Helia's
Oh yeah.
castle or whatever it was, tower, and then we saw that prismatic shield.
Yeah, if you show that to Siaal, they kind of leaf through the spellbook, and it seems as if they're able to read it. And they say, ah yes, this is intriguing. There's not a lot in here that I am not already aware of. However, there are certainly people within Sigil who I could sell
That's
this
kind
to.
of what I'm thinking too. You'd just be a reseller, but I mean,
I'll assign this one a rare. Level to
I
it.
still have hag stuff too.
Jesus.
Yeah, we haven't gotten there.
So that will actually go for. They can reduce the price by 5,000 for that. So,
Okay.
Getting closer.
Pick
So
up all this stuff.
8,000 for all the scales and 5,000.
it was 4,000
So-
for all the scales.
4,000 for the ones I already gave you. He's got 20 more.
I have
It
20
was
more.
2,000 for the ones.
So
Yeah,
to be clear,
So
though,
4,000 total.
4,000
the
total.
scales that I have are from the green dragon that we flew outside of
Oh, so
the
you don't have
northwest.
And those are also not enchanted, so I'd say 1,000 for those.
Yeah.
3,000 from scales if you gave all the scales to Siaal.
So these are 50 each. Okay.
I would be willing to throw in my boots of strength in Spain, which I still have and don't wear anymore.
Okay, that's an uncommon item. That would go for 600. Siaal's willing to pay
The
600
other
for
things
it.
we don't use, and correct me if I'm wrong or if we want these, but we have the Sword of Wounding.
Mm-hmm.
We have the Dragonbone Knuckles,
Mm-hmm.
which I know because I have them crossed out here because I held them.
Bracelet.
The what?
Oh, the serpent
The
bracelet.
serpent bracelet.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see.
I hope that someone is keeping track of all these things because I'm not writing down the prices.
And then I have a +2 spear that we got from the Shadowfell.
I'm writing it down.
Yep. I have inventory.
The Sword of Wounding is rare.
I have a bottle of Bowie sea plant.
I also don't
I
have.
didn't find anything on this.
The Sword of Wounding would go for 5,000.
Sword of Wounding is?
Mhm.
Okay.
Okay, sort of wounding we're getting rid of.
I have a piece
No,
of
just
quartz
write the price
from
on
what is it,
We're not sure
Thimblefoot
if we're gonna
Enterprises when we went through the factory. Do you remember that?
Would go for 30 gold.
30 gold.
The sort of wounding.
5,000.
Oh, 5,000.
How about this bottle of Bowie sea plant?
50 gold.
Ooh, this is worth 50 gold.
There, Harmony.
Oh,
Just kidding.
I could trade it for a scale.
We have our key ring. Just kidding.
What about
The keys to the city.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Something.
boots of Elvenkind aren't really. Oh,
The boots of Elvenkind would be worth something good if you don't want to use them anymore.
I'd be
but
surprised if this
Because
+2 spear
if
didn't
I
go
have
for
boots and then
a
I
heavy
have
amount.
slippers
You
and
can't
Oh, yeah,
wear them all at
+2
the same
spear.
time,
That's
but
what I
like you
mean.
could
Yeah.
swap them
Let's
out.
see what a +2
Because
is.
if your other +2
Buy
stuff
it.
was like,
The
It like
boots of
gives you
Elvenkind.
advantage on stealth, right? Which is
Yeah.
good because you don't have proficiency with stealth.
I'm pretty sneaky.
You're not though.
+2 weapon
Oh, yeah,
goes
I know.
You're
for
not. You always think you are, and then you always fail your stealth
I do.
roll.
I think I'm Sly Cooper.
quite a bit. 11,000.
11,000. Okay.
Because you do that when you're sneaking around. Do 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 do. Like Kronk.
God, I love that so much. Oh, God.
That is Mara.
This is great. Okay, alright.
Singing her own theme song as she's sneaking around the city.
So funny.
It's so much fun. That's why you fail your stealth rolls.
I can picture it so vividly.
I know, right?
I
Oh
should have
my
grabbed
goodness.
a whip.
Alright,
I
Zach,
have a
can you
whip.
think for a second? I'm gonna get some water.
I have a whip.
Sure.
You have a whip?
Yeah.
Why did I not know this?
I don't know. You never asked.
Siaal sees that whip and says, "Oh, that's magical."
Is it?
Yes, you've been carrying it around the entire campaign, and it's magical.
Oh. What does it do?
Where did we get it?
We got it. Oh man, we got it a long time ago.
Actually, way up on your stuff.
Yeah, we got it when we. Oh my
It was
god.
in Raven.
This isn't Ravenmoor. Yeah,
Wow.
this
You've
is.
been so exasperated.
You guys,
You have a
how am I
card for it?
supposed to know this?
I might have thrown it out at this point, actually.
Wait, like, hang on a second.
Yeah, I threw out the card
It's,
because I assumed it would never come up.
I was like, I'm thinking, where did we get this? Because I know it was in Ravenmoor, but
I
like,
think it was in the it
Was
was
it
in
in
the
the
Yuan
Dragon
Ti dungeon.
Well, never mind where you got it. What is it?
I don't know. What is it?
Well, it's a lightning tongue whip, but I have no stats for it because I wrote it on a card before D&D Beyond was a thing, and I've thrown out the card. It was a custom item.
A lightning whip.
I'm so sad right now.
Oh, yes, please.
Mara wants it.
You already have 2 magic weapons.
Yeah.
So?
What are you gonna do with it?
Well,
She
I,
can still use it.
I
I
mean, I
use
guess.
rope
I
all
guess
the
each
time
side
before I
was
got
important
those
than like-
daggers.
That's true.
what would y'all give us for it?
Be like an extra hand.
I guess, yeah.
I think it was probably uncommon based on when you got it.
Level 2 or something.
300 gold.
300? Mark
Let
can
Mara
have
keep
it.
it. Yay!
Yay!
You'll have to write up a new card. for it.
Yeah.
I'll make up a new
I'll have a
one.
lot of fun with that.
I feel bad that we didn't.
I carried it
I
around
didn't
for
know.
See,
so
this
long.
is the problem with
I don't
him
think I-
having all of our inventory.
Why
I
is
don't-
that the
Because
problem?
you can't remember something that happened this morning.
And look, it's written.
That's true. No, it's right there. Just next to basic poison.
Maybe you should just dump out your whole bag and have Siaal look at everything.
Oh, I see this.
Yeah, I think I threw that card out when we finished the main campaign.
Timer
Oh.
I decided, yep, this isn't coming up anymore, and I threw it out.
And here it is.
Floppy hat.
Oh yeah, that's from the Hag's Hut. These are Hag items.
The floppy hat is the.
A black, green, red apple.
That's not the fancy hat that I enchanted.
No,
for
this
you.
is this. No, I already have that. That's down there. The floppy hat is from, and I also have the apples.
So, Siaal says to the group of you, in sort of a hushed tone since you're still out on the main floor, I know that you're considering the belt, but I have just remembered one other item in my inventory, which might be of interest to Harmony. Since you did mention looking for more protection,
Yes.
I do have a robe that would offer that. But as with the belt, it's one of my most expensive items, and in fact, it's one of a kind. I've never made another like it, so it would be quite expensive. I would offer it to you for the same price as offering the
Oh,
belt,
jeez. Okay.
unless you want me to roll and see if I get some.
I mean,
dice.
you rolled almost max. with it,
Yeah,
so
why
yeah,
don't you roll? Can I bet luck on it?
I rolled higher, so same price as the belt.
Of course. Alright. 125k
Yeah,
for...
it's like a D6 times 25,000 gold pieces for a legendary item, and I rolled a 5 on the first one and a 6 for the second one.
Oh, is that what it was? Okay.
Typical.
Could have been a 1.
Same price. Well, why don't you show it to us? Anyway.
And it's called the robe.
Siaal
of
takes
what?
you
The Archmagi,
Um,
M-A-G-I.
back into the back room and pulls out a robe that is immaculate. It's got this hood to it, and it's white and red and gold. But Siaal says, don't let the color scheme throw you off.
Oh, I have to
One of
get
the
it.
properties of the robe is it will color itself as you wish.
Ooh.
So- Why don't you try it on? And you put it on, and it is a bit long for you, in that it is like twice as tall as you. And Siaal just says, fortunately, it will tailor itself as well. So you don't need to worry about that.
Nice.
Does the hood have the horn on top?
No, but that could be easily arranged without disrupting the magic. What this robe does,
What does it feel like? What kind of material is it?
it's very light and like easy to move in.
Is it warm?
Yes, so I think that it probably has like temperature adjusting properties to it to some extent. So it kind of like sits on you as if it were just like an extension of the air. Like you almost don't feel it there. And then in terms of its material, like it has that sort of like light, almost fluffy cloud-like property to it. It's very comfortable.
Okay. Okay.
And Siaal says, so, while you're wearing this robe, it has intensely powerful magical protections woven into its threads. You don't even want to know the amount of money I had to spend on materials to create this thing. It will increase your physical defenses, as well as your defenses against magical effects. But it also has bolstering effects on the magics that you yourself produce.
Such as?
Your armor class is 15 plus your dexterity modifier. Your base armor class. You'll have advantage on saving throws against spells and other magical effects. And your spell save DC and spell attack bonus each increase by 2.
Oh shit.
Really good.
Oh shit.
This is what I was saying.
That's why it's the Archmagi.
Uh-huh. That would put my armor class at 17, y'all.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And that's not even the best thing to find.
I know.
that's
Well, yeah, so it requires attunement, but that would be your base armor class. So if you had additional, like, bracers or whatever, that would
Right.
increase it.
You would have like our armor class at that point.
Pretty close. Yeah.
If I keep the bracers of defense.
What would you get rid of to wear the robe?
Well, that's the thing. I like my ring of telekinesis.
I mean, you could probably get rid of the bracers then, right?
Yeah, I'd get rid of the bracers. How much would the bracers go for?
They're
Plus
bracers
2,
of
right?
defense.
Yeah, they were plus 2
So
to
they'd
AC.
probably be the similar amount to the spear, probably.
Bracers of defense are, in fact, a rare magic item. Siaal would buy those from you for 9,000 gold pieces.
Wow. That's a
good
pretty,
chunk.
yeah.
I
Yeah.
rolled pretty decent on that.
Yeah. Did you write that down?
I did.
Be it not written down.
So we would still need the favor, and then we get a big discount.
We would
Are
need
there any like jobs we can do to earn money?
That's
Right?
what
That's
we're
what
asking
we're
her.
asking,
Yeah,
but
she's
it'll
gonna
be in
think
the
about it.
hells.
I mean, like
The other thing,
There's
No.
nothing that you need us to do here?
not in particular, no. I'm actually rather well set up here. I have the
that's
sort of
great.
connections I need. However, I hesitate to mention this since you're about to descend into the hells anyways, but most likely if you went and spoke with the Infernal Travel Agency, they would be able to broker a deal for a loan. They do tend to do that when people are down on their luck and need a little bit of money.
I don't think we should do that.
Usually they just require interest paid back by the time, you know, your use for the money is done.
I mean, we could always ask. We're gonna go back there anyways. See what the
A devilish loan shark stop.
I want to remind everybody that we passed Saul selling souls. Do you know how those souls were lost?
Wait, so if we sell the big ticket items that we have,
we don't have enough.
I know, and we do whatever job they want us to do in the hells, would that cover getting either your belt or the robe?
We'd still have to pay something like 25,000 on top of that, but we could spare that much.
It would be 25,000 on top of that, and then
Yeah.
we have like, without revealing to Siaal how much we have like what, 200 and something thousand gold right now?
No, we have like 20 something thousand.
We have 20 something thousand.
Yeah.
I thought we had more than
We're.
I thought we had a lot more than that.
because all the money we made from the riches from
Because
everybody.
the papers are going to cost like what, 11,000?
If we don't negotiate at all or take
We
it at face
can't
value.
though.
Yeah.
We have to take it at face value.
The other thing about that was that was the quote for 5 of you, and
Valiance
Valiance
is
did
gonna
say
pay
she'd
for
pay for herself.
So
So it's like around 10,000, less than 10,000.
9,000,
It's
10,000 ish.
between 9 and 10.
But so then we'd still only have what, 11,000.
Yeah, that's about half our.
money?
That's a half our total wealth, just for the papers.
So we wouldn't be able to. We still wouldn't be able to afford whatever big
No.
ticket item it is.
Sial's favor drops it down to 62.
Just
And then how
before the
much?
stuff that we have to
Yeah,
sell.
before the stuff you have to sell. And then how much do you have to sell? I'll do the math right now.
Let's see. We got 9,000 for the bracers. We have 11,000 for the spear. We have
5,000 for the sword of wounding.
5,000 for the sword. Where's my? I don't have it. I have it somewhere.
How about these green dragon scale earrings you made for me? How much would those cost?
I'd say those fall under uncommon.
Feels like Monopoly when you're racing.
Yeah, we just ran on
400.
boardwalk.
Only 400. Okay.
5,000 for the spellbook. We have a supreme healing potion, but I don't know if we want to sell that, but we could price it at least. And then, let's see, what else do we have here? That's all I got on these guys.
So how much was that?
You're down to 32,000.
Yeah,
I don't think we're affording any of these things, honestly.
it's really tight just to get one of them with all of this stuff.
What if we promise to bring back treasure from the hells?
Well, that is promising.
Like whatever we find down there, you can have first dibs on.
Yeah, we are going through a lot of
Wait.
it.
Not the sword.
I was about to say not whatever.
Not the
Well,
sword, but
there's-
any treasure that we find.
Yeah,
The sword doesn't count.
I'm
I've
okay with that.
accidentally just cleared everything I had. Let's do that. Okay. I could cut the price in half again, I think.
For both
So-
of them or just one of them?
Just one of them. Don't be greedy.
I know, that's what I was
I
thinking.
want both so bad though.
Your strength is already ridiculously high.
But we
though.
can have 2 people with higher strength if we can.
I mean, he's
have
already kind of a beast.
Yeah, it's like Thaddeus is listening to all this singing and like, do y'all even realize how powerful you are right now? I don't think anybody does except for Thaddeus.
We are strong, but we can get stronger.
It's all
We're already
So the
powerful.
subtraction, the numbers you had to subtract were 11,000, 9,000,
Yeah.
5,000, and
5,000.
another
So
5,000.
that's 30,000. And then-
With that, and a share of the treasure, that whatever treasure you find, and whatever favor Siaal calls in, that drops it down to 1,200 gold.
for one of them.
1,200
Yes, for one of them.
and full price.
Okay, listen. Amazing broken tank fighter.
Broken tank fighter.
Squishy little mage.
Oh, don't even! You have the strongest spells.
Squishy little
Like-
mage who can get hit twice and then is out of the fight forever. I've fallen down during a fight
All right,
ever.
Like literally twice.
not many. That one fight that was designed to kill Hunter. was one of them.
Where
But
everyone
yet-
did bludgeoning damage.
Design a fight to kill
And he
you.
wouldn't let me sit on the boat and shoot from there. You're like, no, you have to come with. I'm like, oh, shit, I'm gonna die. I remember that. I remember all these things.
It was
Okay.
stormy.
Yeah, well, we can, I guess, do we have other things we need to look at, or is this everything we need to talk to the
You need to talk to the navigator.
navigator? So, yeah, I mean,
If you want, I can also. You are taking a big item off my hands and willing to do a very big favor for me down in the Hells. I can broker the situation with the boatman for you. It's honestly, I would probably stand a better chance of that than you will.
That would be a big help.
Yeah.
do you loan magic items?
You're
I
thinking
never
about
have
rent them?
before, but if I were to loan them to anyone, it would be the group of you.
What would that be like? I wonder if we can swing that too.
Rent it. So much
Buy one, rent one.
We're not getting both. Just
We might.
put that out of your head. We can't afford both.
Zan,
I'll let Siaal tell me
Zan,
that.
look at me.
Yeah, what?
How many crazy, awesome, magical weapons do you already have?
One.
Well, your bow is pretty crazy awesome
It's
too.
not magic though.
Yeah, but it still like does shit ton of crazy damage.
If they're not immune to piercing damage at this
But
point.
you have magical arrowheads
I do not have them
that
yet.
you're going to buy.
Depends on how much money we have left. Well, I mean, we'll see, right? Like, I'm fine with just one. I just want to see if we can't get two. That'd be cool.
She's like, Wonderful Man. He's like,
I'll tell you what, if you rent them both instead of purchasing, with the promise that they will be delivered back to me, intact, no wear and tear, I will keep the deal we have just established and lend them both. But you do not own them. They must come back to me for resale.
ooh, what happens if it gets lost?
I still get my favor with Mahadi, and you still procure items that might be of magical interest for me within the 9 Hells, but I will loan them to you for the duration of your trip.
And we're still selling all of these things to you.
Yes, the exact same deal, but you may have both of them online. I've never, ever, in my history as a salesperson, offered objects for loan. This is a first for me in my thousands of years of life.
Is that worth it? Okay. I mean, I'm thinking it is too, but
I'm sorry, I missed
they are willing to loan both of them
for the same deal
for
that
the
we
deal.
okay.
Yeah,
But it's a loan.
it's a loan.
But it's a loan.
We still have to sell all
And
our
the favor
stuff,
I'm
we still
calling
have
in,
to
let's be
give
clear,
every
is
part of our
it's going to
treasure
be
and-
something significant.
Yeah, I mean that sounds reasonable so far.
Look at how much we're losing, and then at the end we'll have to give them back. Plus all the treasure that we find
We
down
don't. We're not
I'm-
giving the
I'm
treasure,
with
right?
Harmony, honestly.
What do you want to do?
there. I would rather buy one and have that to keep,
Yeah.
and then at the end of the journey, Hunter, I'll make a deal with you. At the end of the journey, I can sell back the robe and you can get your belt.
And we're not going to do anything with it anymore.
I could see Hunter loaning the belt, using it, and then giving it back, saying, "Now it's used. I want it at half price."
Yeah, right. Negotiate.
Well,
I think that the robe is
How-
a better upgrade
here's another question.
if we had to pick one.
You are like a big shot in the Elderhaven reaches, right?
Yeah.
How much money would they be willing to lend you?
I never thought about that.
Because
at all.
we can go
Well,
back there
we
and you
think
can go
about it.
scoop into the pockets of your people and come back and buy that for yourself.
Yeah, if you want to scoop into the pockets of your people, that's something you could do.
The way you
Isn't
put that.
Daddy rich though?
Thaddeus could also scoop into the pockets of his people.
Exactly.
Good.
You know, you guys could come up with the extra money for.
I guess
But if your plan is to get Thaddeus to pay for any of this stuff, y'all need a better plan.
No,
I'm not asking you to pay for mine because obviously this deal we struck is for my robe.
You say that. The way you put these things.
That is kind of
Do we need to
You're
flip a
saying
coin?
these
Like,
things.
Siaal pulls out a gold coin and is like, shall we flip for it?
No, I think, I mean, maybe the, yeah, that's fine.
That is happy with this whole house.
I like
And
the
you've got
whip.
your whip. My boots and my whip. That I didn't even
The whip you didn't even have to buy. Yep.
I'm debating whether
So
I
we're
want
going
to
for the
use
robe?
boots or not.
I mean, I think it's the better upgrade.
Alright, so you can obtain this robe of the Archmagi for a measly 1,250 gold.
And all
A
of that.
dangerous favor for Siaal in the Nine Hells, to be determined.
And is this the thing you were talking about with the salesperson down there? Or is this a different favor?
No, the salesperson thing was for Mara, because Mara
Oh,
bought the
yeah,
boots.
So this is a different
Mhm.
favor. Okay.
And a share of whatever treasure you find down
Yep.
Is the
there.
share
The exception being the sword.
Yes.
The share like we're just giving them stuff?
Yes.
Or is it like they get first dibs on things? I thought that's what it was, right?
I said they could have first dibs on things,
Okay,
whatever we bring back.
I see. I guess I translated that as first dibs, like they could essentially buy what they want first, and then if not, then we might.
Well, basically
other
that's
places.
They
what
don't
it is, right?
Buy it. They
Well,
just
it's not, right? 'Cause
we
that
give
would
it
mean-
to them.
Yeah, that's what I didn't understand. Okay,
Yeah.
giving them stuff.
Hmm.
I see.
As payment.
Okay.
So do we have a deal?
I think so.
Then I think that's a bargain well struck. And Siaal offers you the robe and says, with an hour of time spent with this, it will resize itself, recolor to your whim. I can holes in the hood for the horns if you'd like that, or if you
Sure.
prefer to have it cover the horns, it's up to you.
Probably needs to cover the horns.
Then we'll leave it as is.
Take off my bracers.
Was there anything else being purchased? You already have your boots.
If you ask me, we were all powerful enough when we entered this establishment.
Siaal nods and says, I agree, but I do have some excellent wares. So
To be fair, I've been wanting to buy a super awesome, cool magic item from Siaal the entire campaign.
That's true.
And the only thing I've ever gotten from her were the green dragon earrings that I asked her to make for myself.
I'm saying that in character. Like, you get your archmage item. It's awesome.
I'm just saying to
It's
Hunter,
really good.
how many things have you bought from Siaal?
One.
Now you're using.
I think it's one.
Just the belt.
And didn't she make you that cool, like, plate armor?
I mean, is that buying though? If I provided all the stuff and they just gave
you
it
did
back,
spend some money for it as well.
I guess so. Okay.
So your exchange is taken care of.
That
Your
we
robe's
know.
been paid for.
Yep.
Okay.
I think.
Boots are paid for. Anything else anyone
Yeah,
wants?
I'm getting the boots.
Nah.
You got boots?
I still want arrowheads.
I got the robe.
think.
Do I
And
still
you
want the
got
boots?
boots.
So
I think I'm also going to get the boots, the winged boots.
Yeah, those were only like 200, right?
Yeah, well, I figure I can swap out the ring and the boots. Like, if I want to use the boots, I'll just spend
Yeah,
an
like
hour
a
with the
long
boots.
rest or a short rest, you can swap.
And
them.
then I can, I'll still use both of them, but I'll be able to.
hmm.
So I'll just
150
I'll pay for that
apiece.
with my own,
That's a lot.
out of my own pocket, the winged boots.
So then, Zach, you just wanted some arrowheads, and then we're good to
I
go.
do.
We can end this shopping session.
I do. How much
This
was
is
it
in the
for
highlight,
the?
though.
It was 1,200
No, we've
for
been waiting for
the
this for a long time.
robe.
1,250.
50.
It's a steal for a legendary item.
It is
Well,
a
I
steal.
mean, yeah. If you look at that one number, minus all the other stuff that we're doing, then
I
yeah,
mean,
okay, sure.
all the items that we weren't using anymore.
It's not a bad deal.
I'm okay.
Okay, so the sword
Um,
is gone. We sold it.
So do you wanted the +1 arrowheads?
Yeah, I mean the +2s are 3,000 apiece. We don't have that much money, so
Yeah, I rolled too high on that one.
yeah. The +1s, I mean,
They were like what,
you
200?
said they were 150 apiece.
150. Yeah, that's not too bad. And there were 80 of them total.
I don't know how many would be good.
Do those boots
Been
have
able to
a name?
retrieve arrows most of the time, huh?
The warm boots, do they have a name? Special
Oh
name?
yes. I think Boots of the Winterlands.
Ooh.
Yep, Boots of the Winterlands.
So at least 2 of us are set when we go to the 5th layer.
Would you guys be okay if I got maybe 10 of them?
How much
Maybe
is it?
1,500.
Yeah, sounds fine.
Yeah.
So 10 arrows?
Mhm.
Or arrowheads, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So those will do +1 to your attack roll and +1 to your damage roll.
Okay.
And it's magic damage.
That's the only thing I care about.
Siaal, after making all of these transactions, says,
I'm like pulling the boots on my
well, I'm beat. It's probably pretty close to noon, I'd say. Fancy lunch?
Sure.
Sure.
Yes, fancy.
What would you like? You can find cuisine from all over the plains here.
Something from the same place that tea was from.
That was tea from
Elysium?
Elysium, I think.
Yeah.
Elysium.
That tea was delicious, wasn't
It
it?
may be a little too good.
Yeah.
Hey, why not take the opportunity while we're here to have the best of the best?
Well, because we could have anything. I'm interested in
I
trying,
mean, if
trying
you-
something new.
If you have a chance to have anything, why wouldn't you pick something that's going to be the best thing you've ever had?
What's the local delicacy?
There is no local delicacy, considering that you can find delicacies from all over the plains. However, let's see. Outer Plains. Wouldn't you believe I didn't come up with restaurants? There's places, I'll just give you a list of plains, and you can tell me which one draws your interest, and we can go to a restaurant based on that plain. There's Mount Celestia.
I mean, I already know where I want to go. What plane that wouldn't be fun.
There's the Seven Heavens of Mount Celestia, the Twin Paradises of Bytopia, the Blessed Fields of Elysium, the Wilderness of the Beastlands, the Olympian Glades of Arborea, the heroic domains of Ysgard, the ever-changing chaos of Limbo, the windswept depths of Pandemonium, the infinite layers of the Abyss, the Tartarian depths of Carcerai, the grey wastes of Hades, the black eternity of Gehenna, the nine hells of Bator, the infinite battlefield of Acheron, the clockwork nirvana of Mechonis, and the peaceable kingdoms of Arcadia.
I
Are those all restaurant names?
Those
These
are
all plain.
I know.
plains.
I could go for some meat caught on the beast.
Beast.
Okay,
Beast.
let's do it. Yeah.
Let's have some roast beast.
Roast beef.
Okay.
All right.
I've been
Sounds good to me.
outvoted.
You got your road.
That's true.
You're getting no votes
It's
now.
so comfy.
No more votes.
I'm like, I haven't attuned to it yet, so I'm like running around in it and it's like trailing on the floor.
Well, then it's pouting.
And there it is. I think that's where I'll put them.
I turned you back into a human. You owe me.
What? I don't know what you're
That
talking
was,
about.
that was part of my argument from earlier.
Oh. that-
Retroactively.
I don't know why you were arguing. I was just trying to get both.
Okay. You are taken to a restaurant that is essentially just an open, like, meadow within. Like, there's a open area within Sigil that has been transformed into a magically cultivated meadow. And as you step into it, you are surrounded by tall trees that kind of have winding, trunks to them and lush leaves. And it is as if you've just stepped into like a warm, sunny glade. And as you're walking here, Siaal kind of warns you. The portions are rather large, so be prepared. And you're brought a menu that is essentially just a list of different beasts. So there is just like wolf, bear, fox,
Oh, awesome.
like this sort of thing. And there's like no description text to it at all.
Wow.
And that's what is put in front of you.
I mean, I've always wanted to try bear.
Just bear? What about some other outer plane stuff?
Just thinking of
It is possible that we could split this as a group. In fact, it's my treat for all of the money you just spent at my shop. As I said, the portions are large. We're probably going to want to decide on one thing to eat together.
What are you in the mood for, Sam?
What's
There's everything. There's like elk.
but is it all just material plane beasts?
Yeah, it
Okay.
sounds like it.
It is? Okay.
Mm.
Yeah, I'm looking at the list of beasts from the
Well, after spending some time
Just
as
roll a
a
dice
huge
for
giant
it.
crab, I kind of want to taste one.
Crab is not on the list, unfortunately. In fact, there's very little seafood on the list.
Alright.
How many are there on the list?
There's so many.
Like, is it like 100? Can we just do this?
A D100.
I mean, the list is divided by pages, so I have no idea how many there are.
What's like one of the what's fifth
like
from
the
the
fifth one.
95?
fifth from the last one? How about
Fifth
that?
from the bottom.
Okay,
Yeah.
fifth one of the page that I'm on.
Yes.
Killer whale.
Oh god, no. Oh god, no.
I
He
mean,
said very little
Yeah, there's
seafood.
very few. There's very little
What's-
seafood.
The one under that is large subterranean lizard.
Sure.
Sure.
Okay.
The waiter who comes to take your order is essentially wearing a like kigurumi of a bear, but it's wearing like an apron and
I feel
stuff
like we
that.
chose just by doing this. That one.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Exactly what we did.
takes your order and says, "Oh yes, the subterranean what was it?
Large
Large
subterranean lizard.
The large
Which isn't
subterranean
large, it's
lizard.
huge.
That's an excellent choice, my fine friends. I will have the chef whip that up, and we will bring it right out.
You're gonna use that
Just
back
wait
people.
patiently. And right now you're the only patrons in the area, so you don't really have any idea what you're about to receive. But when the waiter comes back out with the food, they, a single like humanoid form, whose muscles you couldn't really see because it was covered with the kigurumi, but they must be quite expansive because they are carrying a platter that just has what looks like an entire huge subterranean lizard on it. And the waiter comes up to you and says, would you mind clearing some space? And like you have to kind of like make a big circle, and then the waiter like throws the platter into the air and it lands in the center, and it is like garnished with all these like forest themed things. Like there's patches of moss and things like that. Like it's on a bed of moss. And it is steaming and just looks warm and delicious. I don't know. It's a rare choice, but the subterranean lizard, I assure you, is quite delicious. In fact, it tastes quite like prime chicken.
Right.
And as those of you who dare to dig into
Oh, yeah.
it,
I'll leave it.
Yeah.
it does
No way.
taste like the juiciest chicken you've ever
It tastes
tasted.
like chicken.
Nope.
I'm like
Can't
chasing
do it.
Mario
Nope.
around with it.
You
Just
wanted
close
to
your
come
eyes.
here.
Nope. Nope. Can't do it. Can't eat
There comes
pasta.
the airship.
Yeah. Here comes the drowning kiss.
I suggest you take a bite. I cast suggestion on you.
Oh!
And my wild magic goes out.
She's
Are you
a
wearing your
mommy
robe
now.
yet?
I am, but I haven't attuned to it yet.
Mara, you want to make your save?
Yes.
Lucky for you, I haven't attuned yet.
Wisdom save?
I think so, for suggestion.
Let's see. What looks like a lizard?
Yeah, it's wisdom.
This one.
Well,
12.
You fail.
wait, do you get slippery mind or is that some other rogue thing?
Wait, I can't fail a wisdom save.
Yeah, you can. Wait, what? Why?
Yeah, you can.
I have a slippery mind.
Yeah,
I
that's-
gain proficiency in wisdom. Oh, but that doesn't. So that means.
So that
it's
means
a 10.
it's a 10.
So I got a 14 plus an 8, so it's a 22.
So you pass.
Plus 8?
Do I get to add that?
Oh, and you get my +5 because you're near me.
So, Mara, you can tell Harmony casts the spell on you, a spell you recognize, but your slippery mind, you escape it.
Harmony, you really don't want chewed up lizard all over your brand new boots, do you?
What happens with wild magic?
Oh, okay. I'm gonna do, because 94 has triggered before, so I'm gonna do 85 instead.
Okay, so I mean, what does that look like in this situation?
When does this make me talk faster? Like, do I sound
Sure.
like a chipmunk or something?
Probably.
Oh no.
So, like, oh, sorry, but it was worth a shot.
As she casts haste on herself.
Oh, great.
and just starts shoveling subterranean chicken into her
Eating
endless
so fast.
stomach. Yep.
And then, what is it, a minute later, I'm just like, honk.
But half of the subterranean lizard is gone.
Oh my
There's
god.
no way she
Harmony,
has that much-
Harmony's belly is like,
Oh my god.
And I'm just sleeping.
She's like wider than she is tall now.
yep.
Right.
I'm just sleeping now.
So I have to leave the
Oh my God.
table.
Grab a
It's so,
hot dog off.
it's so
Yeah,
disgusting.
I'll take the leg.
Were there any sides with it, like bread that I can
Yeah,
grab?
there's actually, it's not bread, but there are sides of like fruits and vegetables and things on the side, but they're bigger than usual.
Yes,
They're huge.
Awesome.
Like the apple is like basketball size.
Holy shit.
Okay, so I get out my, I make a fruit salad.
Oh, I forgot to mark my stuff.
Easy enough.
Okay.
So you all have this lunch in this cafe that is based off of the hunting lands of, what's the place called? The Beastlands.
Knew
So
it.
after your meal, what's
Okay.
next?
I'm like all like really groggy now.
And you ate so much for lunch. Really, Harmony.
Did Siaal want us to
Don't
come
judge
with
me. It
for
was
the
good.
the boating discussion?
I
Oh,
think
shit,
said
they were gonna
take
go,
care of the whole
right?
thing.
Yeah.
Yes, I can take care of that while the group of you go. You said you have business to attend to back on the material before you're even ready to descend into the hells.
Right.
I can-
we
Yeah.
talked
I
about
can
that.
take care of procuring you captain for the ship.
I'd appreciate that.
Yeah, let's talk about this.
So can we maybe hang out at your place for a while?
Of
So
course.
We can talk.
Your case, was it?
Yes. Well, you're picking up on the cant. That's incredible. Yeah, and you guys have all noticed that like people in Sigil have kind of like a distinct way of talking. Like even just as you're walking through the market ward, you'll hear some of them shouting at each other, calling each other names such as Burke or Basher or Cutter, etc. And like none of these have really any meaning to you, but it seems to be like have some meaning to them. So like someone gets called a basher, and the other person's, the person who gets called that, it doesn't seem very happy, right? Whereas someone gets called a blood, and then the person's like, ooh, yes, I'm a blood. It's very, very
Okay.
like arbitrary to the group of you, but it clearly means something to everyone.
I
here.
lean over to Mara.
Um,
You're a real blood.
I'd never call you a basher.
Thanks.
To your face.
And yeah, case is one of those terms that like Siaal accidentally slipped in, even though Siaal keeps the planar lingo in check most of the time. Yeah, you can go back to my case if you wish and take a little time to discuss. I need to attend to the shop again. My assistants can keep it running for some time on their own, but I shouldn't be gone for too long.
Okay.
Thanks.
Yeah, thanks for everything.
Okay. I will. I'll come meet you tonight then, at my place.
Sounds good.
Thank you. Yeah, so I guess we'll head back to the...
On the way back,
Mm-hmm.
I want to look for shiny things that are unusual. Things that you couldn't find on the material plane. And not necessarily magic items, but just like trinkets.
I've got a whole trinket table here if you want. If you want that.
But specifically like shiny things.
Sure. Roll a perception check.
Okay. Happily.
Are you good at perception?
No, I mean,
Do you want me to help you?
no, it's alright.
Are you sure?
I'm gonna roll Tides of Chaos.
Nice.
Cause that is sucky. Ooh, natural 20!
Okay, you're good.
Natural 20. Okay.
So 22.
You see a stand that seems to be devoted to the various elemental planes, and there are a series of gems there that seem to, like, there's one for like various elements, and they each seem to pulse with this elemental energy to them. And you just kind of see that as you're going
It's a
by
stand,
on
so it's
Zance.
outdoors.
hmm Everything in this district seems to be like, well, not everything, but most everything seems to operate from little market stalls.
Harmony wants some help with that?
Yeah, if I cause a little distraction, can you just kind of like, swipe one of the things off the table?
The other thing
Which
that
one
you
do you want?
recognize with your natural 20. just to let you know, so that you're aware. Not far from where this stand is, you spot a familiar face. The sort of rotund body and balding head of Mike Jensen, wearing his typical button-up shirt.
I was gonna be here.
Followed around by a group of those cube-like creatures. There seems to be 4 of them that are following him around. But also, you recall there were these like green-skinned, elongated head creatures that were with him before as well, and there's 2 of those that are with him. And he seems to be looking through the marketplace, and he's not far from that stall.
Somebody told us it would be like impossible to run into him.
Well, I was thinking, along the same lines distraction as the other place. You know, just
which one do you want?
something red and sparkly.
And then change your appearance maybe so he doesn't see you.
I'll just make myself invisible after that.
Alright.
Okay, so I'm going to subtle spell.
Okay.
Another minor illusion.
Okay.
And I'm going to make it sound like an explosion is happening just around the corner.
Look something up.
Something that'll really loud bang and screaming.
And this is how we started our fight. We got a Sigil.
Yeah, the volume can range from a whisper to a scream, so an explosion would be a bit much.
Okay, so
For
it'll just be a bunch of people screaming.
Okay.
Like a crowd shouting.
Roll a charisma check. You are battling against the sound of the market district
Oh, I
at this
see.
point.
Okay. Just charisma.
Why am I playing this music when I should be playing Harmony's theme?
That is a 12. Not great. You can go in jail.
Yeah, unfortunately,
It's the same one that rolled a 2 earlier.
you cast the spell with subtle spell. The scream goes off, and a few people close to the corner where you made it occur look and sort of try and find the source of the scream. But in general, the market as a whole seems unaffected.
I like a challenge.
It's just drowned out by the ambient noise of this place.
Let's see. So is there something nearby that looks like it could be knocked over with a strong gust of wind?
Perhaps one of these market stalls?
Yeah.
Sure.
Something kind of in the opposite direction of us that would turn the attention away from our direction.
You're looking to use the cantrip gust
Yes.
of wind? Is that it?
Yes.
Let's see.
Gust of wind, not a cantrip.
No, it's just gust.
No, that's not confusing.
It's just gust. Do I have the card here?
Oh, excuse me.
I do not. I don't know what the...
An object that is neither held. Well, actually, no, this wouldn't work then, because it can only push something up to 5 pounds.
Yeah, so I was thinking of something like something on a stand that was maybe full of water that I could spill on someone. Or
Oh, I see.
something that could break if I knock it off of a stand.
What about a fireball? No, they would see it came from
They would
me.
definitely see it came from me, yeah.
Fireball.
Sure, there's something that you could maybe attempt that, but roll another charisma check at disadvantage this time.
Oh boy.
Because it's not a very large thing that you're pushing.
Am I actually... Okay. Well, that's worse. 10.
10? Unfortunately, yeah, like the thing spills over and the merchant who's there is like, my glasswares! And like, has a bunch of glass shatters on the ground. But the merchant selling the elemental plane stuff doesn't seem to take notice of it as they're trying to sell to all the people in front of their booth and such like that.
Yeah.
Fortunately, Mike Jensen doesn't seem to look your way either.
Alright, well, I have one last idea.
Come
He
back.
really wants that sparkly red thing.
I don't like failure. This might be a distraction in and of itself. So I'm going to kind of nonchalantly kind of weave through the crowd and get kind of to where I'm at the stall next to the stall with the shiny things.
Mm-hmm.
And
At this point, Mike Jensen and his group have moved to a stall that is very close to where you are.
I'm going to cast invisibility, but my wild magic goes off.
Okay.
So I will become invisible. But something is going to
This
happen.
is also going to come in.
Well, that might work for
This-
our
I mean, that's what
distraction.
I'm thinking. I'm like, well, this will be distracting. Whatever happens.
I can't become invisible.
Well, that's why I walked away from you guys over by the booth.
Thaddeus is also going to do this now.
Do you,
Become invisible.
maybe wild magic will
Make
trigger
me
for you
invisible
too.
with you.
Maybe.
Did I just roll?
Who knows?
I rolled an 85 again.
Are you serious?
Yeah. And a 95, which is funny because I rolled 94 last time. Yep, I'm gonna go with 95.
Oh, geez. Okay.
That works.
The ground around where Harmony turns invisible, she disappears from sight, but the ground around there was like cobblestone street, and it begins to crumble into finer and finer stones until it is a incredibly fine sand that then begins to let me read the whole thing.
Actually, no, Thaddeus isn't going to become invisible. I know.
You can see basically two footprints in the very center of it begin to sink lower and lower.
Well, Thaddeus is not going to become invisible. What Thaddeus is going to do, seeing what Harmony is up to, quickly walks up to Mike Jensen and says, "Mike, how are you?" and tries to like distract him.
Oh.
And that's where we're gonna end tonight's episode. As Mike turns around, startled, and says, "Sir Thaddeus Hammerlock?
Oh god.
Oh my
What are you
God.
doing here?" Good job.
Shenanigans. Oh, it feels so glorious. It's been so long since I've been able to do a nice shenanigan.
But
So,
the funny thing is
We'll just have to remember that Harmony is in the middle of a
Quicksand?
pit of quicksand,
Yeah.
and... Alright,
Yeah.
Mike Jensen's in play. Cool.
It'll be fine.
Good
Maybe you
stuff.
can get more than one shiny thing with this distraction.
I'll work out what those shiny things are as well. My improv brain was not really working tonight.
No, you did great.
Yeah, good.
Probably threw at him.
I know, it was a lot
Yeah.
of numbers tonight.
Thank you to anyone who tuned in to watch. That was the first shopping episode we've had in
Yeah.
It's been a really long time. Thank you for letting me get
maybe
my
maybe
robe.
like 75 episodes or something like that.
Yeah.
We'll be back not next week because we are on a brief break next week, but probably the last episode in Sigil. They'll probably get back to the material plane, I think, sometime next episode. Will occur the week after next. So that'll be into October at that point. So we'll see you then. Thank you for watching. Hope you have a good night. Bye.
Bye.